Let's see here. We've got too many tabs open here.
Okay, I officially call this meeting to order. We need to approve the agenda.
So moved.
Seconded.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay. Um, we are excited to have our special guest, Fred Sussman, here today to help us figure out the best way we can do our job and be true to the role that we have, as well as encourage people to participate as candidates and voters. And it's a fine line, so any help we can get is fantastic. I'm not sure, Jessica, what kind of background we should go into. I don't know. Can you put some framework on the conversation and then we can jump in with the questions or whatever?
Sure. So we have talked quite a bit about write-ins, and so the lack of clarity therein with regard to the charter not containing any information about write-ins. The code has limited information, and the election manual also has limited information. We've had some outreach from a candidate that is requesting, just some general information. The board desires to share information about the write-in process with not just the candidate, but with the whole community. But they're not sure how far, to go with that. When we talked last time, well, Fred, why don't you go ahead and if there's questions, I think there were three questions that came from the board, and maybe you could talk a little bit about those three things.
I was gonna say, Jess, you're doing a great job. Keep going. Uh, okay, as I understand it, one of the issues, it has to do with how many votes a write-in candidate needs to get in order to be elected. Is that correct in general terms?
That's one of the it's clear when there is no one when it's an uncontested race, but it's not clear when it is a contested race. So when
Well, the code deals with a situation when there was a certified candidate and something happened to that candidate during the electoral process. In that situation, if somebody has a write-in vote, they still need to have 15 votes and otherwise meet all the qualifications for election. Okay. Is there any question about that? No. Okay.
no,
The 15 votes, as I read it, only applies when you have a write-in situation where there has been a candidate who is no longer a candidate because of death, disability, or whatever it may be. So what is, I'll say, an ordinary situation write-in? You have either nobody running or you have somebody certified as a candidate. In that situation, it is majority rules. If there's no candidate, no other candidate, somebody can be elected with one vote. If there is uh, somebody running, then it's the person who has the higher number of votes.
the way we had interpreted it last time when there was Ward 5 was in the same situation was that because somebody had to get 15 um to actually run for office, it we assumed that they would need to have 15 people voting for them. If they only need one person to write in, then that makes things a lot simpler for us. But I want to make sure that, because that's different than what we did last time.
There wasn't a candidate last time in Ward 5.
Right.
No, I understand. So what I'm understanding Fred to just say was, in the instance when there's not a candidate running, if there is one write-in vote in that ward, that person wins. And what we did the last time when there was no candidate in Ward 5 was that we said that candidate had to get 15 people voting for them, because that would have been the same number of people as who would have signed to have them fight to vote.
Well, it falls into the third category here in the event that no candidate files for
Yep.
an office. So that does still require the 15 votes.
Right. Yeah.
So the three, and this is what, just to be clear, the three circumstances are the disqualification of the candidate on the ballot, the death of the candidate that's already on the ballot, that's met the criteria, or there's no one who has filed. So last time around, no one had filed. And so that wasn't, we knew well, I think the board knew that was pretty clear on what was needed there.
Well, it was my understanding, and it was the understanding of the people who were working with the candidate, that she needed to get 15 people to vote for her. And if she didn't, then she couldn't be in the position.
And I
So
think
we're saying that was incorrect.
no, was there somebody else running?
No.
No, then I misspoke and I apologize. I didn't have the code up in front of me. I think Jessica is correct. If there's no candidate running, no candidate who has filed for office, then 29-13B would apply, and you would need 15 votes.
Okay.
Okay.
So Mr. Sussman, I just want to make sure that I'm understanding in the event that there is no candidate in the ward, 2913B applies. They have to have a minimum of 15 valid votes in order to win that seat. In the situation that we're dealing with this year, there is a candidate on the ballot. So for a write-in candidate, or for someone who wishes to write themselves in and have other people write them in, you're saying that it's just majority wins. There's not a minimum. You don't have to reach a minimum of 15 in order to win that majority.
Correct. Because the certified candidate wouldn't have to get 15 votes to win in that situation.
Correct. Right. That a
So-
candidate could win an election if it's an uncontested election and the candidate votes for themselves. One vote wins.
No.
Is that correct?
No,
No.
no, there is a minimum of 15 if
If you're on the ballot
Yeah,
or you run as the only as the only candidate we have an open slot this time. And so if a candidate runs a successful election, that person would need to get 15 qualified votes.
Yep. But
Okay.
in the case of a contested election, if the person, sorry, my battery is low for some reason. If the person is a write-in, they don't need to have 15 people to win the election if they have more votes than the person who did get 15 signatures.
The certified candidate doesn't necessarily have to have had 15 votes at the election. They need to have submitted a petition containing 15 valid signatures from the ward.
Yep. So the what we're trying to make even is not that the fact that the person had to get, so one person got 15 signatures, so it's on the ballot, and the other person didn't get the signatures, so it has to do a write-in. But then once they're competing against each other, whoever gets the most votes wins, and it doesn't matter how many the most is.
That's correct.
Okay,
So if the qualified candidate gets 2 votes and the write-in candidate gets 3 votes, the write-in candidate wins.
Yes.
Great.
okay.
Okay. And if you as a Board of Election doesn't feel that that's an appropriate way to proceed, then I think you need to amend either the election manual or the code. And that has to be approved by the town council.
Well, we know that we needed to be a lot more explicit because a lot of stuff has been done by gentleman's agreement and kind of, the way it was done last year. So we just do it that way. So we know we need to definitely put it in the election manual. Okay. That was one question. I think that clarified a lot. Does that clarify stuff for you, Heather, on this specific issue? Okay. So, and a bigger issue is we need to know when people come to us for advice and ask questions about.
Or not for advice, for clarifying information.
Yeah, I understand, but the thing is they could become, in their mind, they may be coming to us for, what am I supposed to do here, right? We have to be able to give clarifying information, not advice.
Right.
So we need some way to figure out what is the difference. And how do we know what we can say so we're not giving legal advice and we are actually giving them an answer to their question that is appropriate?
Yes, Sarah, can you give me, or somebody give me a few examples of the types of questions or requests for clarifying advice you may be receiving so that I can put it in context? My general
Yeah.
statement would be that you are administrators, you're not legislators, and what you can do is tell people what the law says, tell people what the election manual says.
Okay.
And that's, I think, is bottom line.
Okay.
I don't think that you can go beyond that.
And so if we're unclear in like the same situation here as the situation we're dealing with the
This one candidate.
this one candidate is if we can, it's hard because we want to make sure that this candidate understands the full spectrum of possibilities and his alternatives, but some of those things are not listed in that. They're kind of read between the lines. And so we're not sure. Yeah, we're just not sure.
And I apologize, I'm not sure, without having more specifics of what you're talking about.
So like I'm just going to talk about the instance with this person who is didn't get enough signatures to be on the ballot.
Right,
And
the
he's
one
come
who
back.
sent the letter asking for it.
Yes, exactly. And we wanted to make sure that he understood what his options were at that point, right? But we can't point to him to some place that says this is where the information is about doing a writing candidate, because there isn't anything in writing for this particular situation. So we want to be as transparent as possible, and we want to stick to the law and be our best bureaucratic selves. But we can't do that when there's nothing there to point to.
I don't like the word bureaucratic. How about administrative?
Okay, administrative works good. I don't mind being a bureaucrat. I'm happy to be a bureaucrat. They get the job done. Anyway.
Here's a thought. Again, it's difficult for me because I haven't been at your meetings. I don't understand everything you all are going through and the types of questions that are posed to you. But if you have for instance, a series of questions that come up from a lot of times.
Okay.
You dealt with them before.
Mm-hmm.
What you might think of is a Q&A.
Okay.
I saw that in an email.
Yep.
About Q&A.
Yep.
But staying within the parameters of what is in the city town code and what's in the election manual.
Okay.
if there's an ambiguity
Mhm.
in one or the other, and that affects, the guidance, then I think it's up to the board as a whole to try and resolve that or
Okay.
take a position collectively,
Okay.
not one individual. Uh, if there is a question that comes up every election, hypothetically, or every other election, fairly frequent, let's say fairly frequently, then there's principle called of law administrative interpretation. If you as a board are legally responsible, have the responsibility and duty to apply and interpret the law of interpret ambiguous provisions, then that can go a long way towards explaining what something means.
Okay. So
So it,
the history of the way it's handled in the past can help us
yes,
support
yes.
our position. Okay.
Again, assuming it's been a consistent administrative interpretation over
Okay.
the years,
Okay.
number one, and number two, that it is something that is truly ambiguous. For instance, this thing we were talking about a couple minutes ago, the 15.
Yeah.
I don't think that is I don't think that you could have a question as you posed it and say that it in any situation 15 votes is required.
Yep.
I don't think that that is consistent with the code and the election manual, and doesn't matter how many administrative interpretations there have been, if it's not consistent with the law and maybe contrary to the law, it doesn't matter.
Can you actually help me understand how that would be inconsistent? Because I actually think that, so my approach to the Board of Elections is to facilitate as many people who are qualified voters to vote as possible. And so I would have probably interpreted that the way, in order to be consistent with whatever it was, 2913B, I would have interpreted that as if you're a write-in candidate, you have to reach the 15 vote minimum because that's what your opponent had to reach with petition signatures. So I would have thought that would be consistent, even though I much prefer your interpretation.
But when we read the words of the code, first you have to look at the plain meaning of the words. And the plain meaning of the words, hold on a second, has three scenarios in which 15 is required. No candidate files for an office.
Yeah, I understand that. But there are scenarios that are unfolding. Sorry, just there are scenarios that are unfolding that aren't actually named, like the one that's surfacing this year, which is going to continue, as we evolve the voting process, that's going to continue to happen. I don't have, we should expect that. But in a scenario that is not named in the code, and I think that we're finding one this year, I think we will find ones in subsequent years. I would have interpreted that more conservatively in order to be consistent with 2913B. So I'm actually, I like your answer better. And I actually want to understand the logic there because I don't want us to overinterpret the code either,
No, I think the interpretation I gave you is consistent, very consistent with the plain meaning of the words. I think that to say that in the situation we're talking about, that you're talking about, requiring 15 votes is not consistent with 29-13B. So we may just have a respectful disagreement about that. And Jessica, I'm going to ask you to take this off the screen and give me back our camera views, so
There you
I
go.
can help read lips.
Got it.
If we need to go back to it, we can go back to it.
I don't think we disagree with you, Fred, at all. We're just trying to figure out how you think so we can think more like you when we come to problems so that we're consistent with what you are, how you are interpreting it so that everything.
Well, uh, my thought process was developed over 49 and a half years of doing this. And I've been working with Jessica for how many years now?
20, Fred, between MML
How
and
many?
here. 20 between MML and here. I just remembered, just
Oh.
added that up.
So she pretty much knows how I think and how I develop my thought processes. So sometimes you gotta take it on faith.
So I think that I think covers two of the questions. One is to try to figure out how to interpret things, Heather, and I think that's going to be that's going to be much more like we're just going to have to figure it out as we go along. I don't think there's going to be any guiding principles.
And Sarah, let me just reiterate, which I've already said, you've said, that if there are things that come up relatively frequently,
Yep.
then get it squared away so it doesn't come up next time. Either through an amendment to the election manual or an amendment to a code.
Yep.
Either of which have to be approved by the town council.
Okay.
So
So and you seem supportive of us creating some kind of Q&A that we can distribute somewhere that addresses some of the ambiguities and makes processes potentially clearer than having people have to read through the charter and the code and the manual.
and
Yeah.
I think that's a good idea, Sarah.
Okay.
But let me suggest that if you want to do that, put together a draft and then send it to me for review.
That's what I was going to suggest. Yes,
Yeah.
I think that's a
And I'd
really
be
good
more
idea.
than happy to review it promptly.
Okay. And then there was a third question, and it's been a really long day, and I don't even remember what it is.
What should we do when we are asked a question that is not explicitly interested in the code or charter?
Yep. And I think we have already talked about it. Basically which is kind of reiterate to people that we are administrative and that's we don't have an immediate answer, and then come back and collectively think about it and then check in with you. Does that sound like a good process?
Yes, that does.
Okay. How does that sound to everybody else?
Sounds good to me.
And I
Sorry,
understand.
I actually heard, I heard something different. I didn't hear Mr. Sussman say we need to go back to him every time that we're administratively interpreting something.
I thought it was that we need to go back if it's something new that we have interpreted to verify. If it's something that we've squared away and it's been repeatable, then that and we should fix it.
Yeah.
If it is coming up again and again and again. But if it's a new administrative question, that we do need to go back to Mr. Sussman.
Yeah, and what I also said was that if you want to go ahead and try and put out a Q&A, put a draft together and send it to me for review.
Yeah.
And hopefully some of those Q&As can address some of the questions you're thinking about.
Yep. What I heard, Heather, is that if there is a consistent
Consistent
pattern.
administrative interpretation.
Yes, if there's a consistent administrative interpretation and it's always been done that way and it isn't in writing, then we should feel comfortable articulating that and telling people that and putting it in writing. We don't necessarily need to go back to Fred to say, is this right? But if it's something, a new question like what happened this year, and there isn't anything, then we need to go back to Fred. Does that sound right?
Yes.
Okay.
Or it would be desirable for
Yeah.
you to come back to me.
Yes.
I can deal with these small questions pretty
Yep.
quickly.
Yep. I like a good subject matter expert. I always want one around.
What else can I help you all with? I know you have a bunch of things on your agenda, so I don't want to hold you up.
Anything else, anybody?
That was it from me.
I think
Now we know how to proceed.
yes, we do. And we are I've got some good keywords from you, Fred, about administrative processes and and things like that. So that'll make it easier for me to sound official when I say I don't know.
We are administrators, we're not legislators.
Exactly. So
Okay,
okay.
anything else before I sign off?
I don't think so. You've been very helpful. Thank you.
My pleasure. Hey, nice meeting you all. Good luck with the election. I'm sure it will run very smoothly as it does every time.
Thank you.
That's what I understand.
Yep.
All right.
So have a good evening.
Yep. Good
Thanks.
night.
Thanks,
Good
Fred.
night.
Hey, Jess, if anything else comes up, I'm always on my iPad, even in the next 15, 20 minutes, half an hour. So just send me a text or an email, say, Fred, something came up, log back on or whatever.
Will
Okay?
do. Thanks so much, Fred. I appreciate it.
My pleasure.
Take
Be
care.
well,
Thank you.
everybody.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thanks.
Well, it's nice to hear kind of what we thought, but out of the horse's mouth. So, and that I hope that that's helped some. And I really do think I think we can, if we can do a Q&A, then we also have yet another document that we can refer to that is more, hopefully we can do it in plain English, 8th grade education language level that, of the rules so that it becomes easier for people who are learning our systems to be able to meet our requirements.
We still need to send a letter to the candidate, right? We haven't done that. Answering his letter.
I think,
Okay.
was there a draft yet or not?
Mhm.
There was.
There was.
There was a draft from Fred.
Okay.
Yeah, and then Heather had made some suggestions to it that I think are perhaps no longer consistent with the interpretation that Fred just shared with us.
Yep.
Because,
Although I do think that we do have some details that we can
yeah,
share with him
Yeah.
about how to
Yeah.
go about.
He needs to have write-in candidate. He can have he can do a write-in campaign, and whoever has the most votes that night will win.
Wins.
Do you think we even need to say that? Isn't that standard for, I mean, that's whoever has the most votes wins. I mean, that's how typically elections work.
Yeah.
yeah, I think
Yes.
we're good to simply say, that like you can stage a write-in candidacy and run in opposition to
Yep.
the candidate who's on the ballot.
Okay.
Leave it at that.
Yep.
The other thing I wanted to just mention now that the Q&A is in play, that this might not even be a big deal, but I think it might be a good idea to have sample ballots available for people to view on the website or via the QR code. So when we get to the point where we look at the ballots tonight, we can ask that they create one that just says sample instead of official, and then we'll include that in the crier and then electronically, if I can get it in the crier,
Yes.
but also electronically. So I think that's a nice
Yes.
addition to the process.
Yep.
Like another
I agree. I agree.
improvement, I
I
guess.
think it's important. It's
Yep.
not just nice, it's important.
It is, yeah.
Yeah.
We run into
Yes.
it every year.
Okay.
There's questions about how to fill out the ballot, right? Fill in we could even have
Right.
something about
Right.
instructions. So anyways,
Yeah.
do you want me to pull the
Okay.
agenda back up? Sarah, what would you like
I
to do?
think so.
Yes.
Yeah, I think that sounds like a good idea. See where we're at.
Let me see here. I've got too many screens up in one place. Let me close out of the election manual and stuff because we're done with that discussion. Okay, here we go.
Okay. So, you want to give us an update on the state of, election judges and, recruitments for judges and a Board of Appeals, Jessica?
Certainly. This is where we are right now, as of today. We do have one other potential election judge. They're trying to take off work, so we may have one more coming soon. That person also attended the State of the Town last night, so I feel like that's promising that they're interested in getting involved in the town. We only have 3 confirmed members of the Board of Election Appeals. I resent emails to everybody who's either served as an election judge or, had some involvement with elections over the years, and haven't gotten any responses. I also sent a second email to all of the county election judges that live in Riverdale Park. And I offered both, like, that we need both election judges or boards of election appeals. My next step will be specifically related, unless the board deems otherwise, related to the Board of Election Appeals. I'm going to reach out to the council members in each ward, and because typically they had one representative from each ward on the Board of Election Appeals, and just say, hey, your person hasn't responded, or they can't do it this time, and do you know of anybody else? So I think at this point it's kind of begging for some help. I don't know
It is begging, yeah,
what else
Yeah.
to say.
yeah.
We need a full
And
board of election.
remind me, so for Board of Election Appeals, they have to be do they have to be a registered voter in
Yeah.
Riverdale? They had to have lived here for whatever, 45 days.
Well,
Right.
in order
So
to
that's
vote,
for-
you have to,
Yeah.
Yeah.
And do they only meet if there is an appeal?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there's not a required meeting. Okay.
No.
I'm gonna send some texts and just
Thank
see
you.
who I can. Okay.
Yeah. They're
It's just
the,
the if needed.
they're the in case there's a problem. Yeah.
Is there a requirement for ward distribution, or could we there are 7 seats on the board, is that correct?
Yeah,
Am
I
I
think
reading this list correctly?
correct. And I think what's happened is the mayor gives a recommendation and then a council member from each ward. But there have been times in previous years where they've come from, like, the town at large if they can't find a registered voter that can do it.
Yeah,
The same thing with the election judges, although we took out the requirement to have one for each ward because this is so
Yeah.
difficult. Last year or 2 years ago when we did this, I look back, I think we had like 2, maybe 3 maybe even 3 vacancies on the Board of Election Appeals. But the best practice is to always have a full Board of
a full
Election.
board,
Yeah.
right.
Okay. Thank you, Jessica. I know this is, not particularly rewarding work. It's like trying to get receipts from people,
The mayor and council meet on the 24th, which is this coming Monday. And I thought
Yes.
it might be a good time for the Board of Elections to give another update. Also, just saying where we are on the election judges and the boards of election appeal. I have to put together a resolution, and that has to be adopted, of course, before the election. So has to be, I think, I would say, adopted by the last meeting in April, and everyone would have to be sworn in on that night. It's not impossible, but it could happen.
It's tight.
It's tight. But this process is easier this year because the board worked with the council to amend the code. So we don't have to adopt a resolution in February and then continuously adopt it, like repeal and replace it every time we get a new member. We can wait till the last meeting and kind of have everything in line. So it's a cleaner process overall. The only other thing I wanted to mention with election judges, there was some discussion about how much we pay election judges versus how much other jurisdictions pay. Does the board want to adjust that or ask the council to adjust it, or just move forward with what we've had in the past?
Yes, please, let's do what we need to do to adjust it.
Okay.
If we can do that, I think that it will be easier, if not this time, next time.
Yep.
To get people. Terry Archsmith, you're an old hand. What do you
Yes.
say?
I'm probably not a good example because I don't care about the money at
No,
all.
I agree.
It is so little in comparison, not to brag, to what I make at my normal job that I'm actually losing money doing it.
For
So,
democracy.
No, I get it. Right. Yeah. But I don't think that it's a bad idea. And I don't even remember what the college, Sarah, do you remember what the College Park? It was real
It was
money. It
like
was
$300
like
and
$300 or
then
$400
and for each
Yeah.
day. And if you did both days, you got like a bonus. So it was like the more days you did, it kind of piled up pretty quickly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah,
And-
and the
Yeah.
county is, it's $100 for the mandatory training session, or, yeah, $100 from the mandatory training session, but you only get that if you actually work the election.
Right.
Then the
Yeah.
election is $300 if it's your first election and $400 if it is a repeat election, and it stays at $400 if it's a repeat election.
I like the idea of paying back more.
Yep.
So what we have in the resolution that's been this way, at least for the 12 years I've been with the town, the chief election judge is $300 for election day, $50 for training, and then $12 an hour for election prep. Now, we'll have to figure that piece out. Deputy election judge is $200 for election day, $50 for training, and $12 an hour for election prep. Other judges are $200 for election day and $50 for training.
I would feel more comfortable if it was even for everybody. I don't feel like that just because I have the word chief in my title, I do any less work. But
I would disagree with that.
Okay.
Because every other municipality I've ever like volunteered as an election judge and the county,
okay,
because the election judges have the responsibility of like adjudicating
okay,
any like discrepancies that come up,
Okay.
Provisional ballots, things
yeah,
like that.
I guess.
You have additional responsibilities.
Okay. Yep. With authority, the authority. Yeah. Okay.
Does
comment.
anyone want to do some research on that just to see what others have done or compile that before you make a recommendation to the council?
I would love to. I just don't have time right now.
Me too. I'll make it work. I'll
Yeah,
make it work.
when are we looking to make a recommendation to the council? On Monday?
What we want to know is, on Monday, is this for Monday?
Well, I think you could simply,
say
my
we're looking into
recommendation
it.
would just say that, we'd like to consider an increase and come back to the council the following week and discuss it further.
Yeah, in that case, I can do some research.
Great.
And then just
Terry-
email all of us. Yeah.
Terry, if you want to, let's figure out a list of towns and you do some and I'll do some and we'll knock it.
Kate, do
You
you
wanna do
still
that?
have, Kate, do you still have the towns you talked to about the
Somewhere.
somewhere?
Yeah,
Yeah.
let me look back and see if I can find in my notes. I'm sure that I wrote a note about it
Yes.
and I just need to find it.
Kate did a really good job and did some research, Terry, to figure and contact people when we were trying to figure out the time difference between when elections, the timeline for different elections in different towns. And so Kate
Yeah.
did a bunch of research and got it together. And I figure that's going to be a really good list to work
Well,
with.
that was easy because that was all stuff that was posted on websites. This time we're gonna have to actually talk to town clerks, I think.
Yep.
Am I right, Jessica?
I think so.
To
Yep.
get the information quickly, we're gonna need to call people up and work the phones. Let me
Or-
see what I can do about that.
Yeah, if
And-
you have that list somewhere to hand, I think in addition to working the phones, like I can draft an email that
Right,
you can
that we could
to
send
the
around.
town clerks, town
Right.
administrators, and
Right.
try to get answers that way as well.
Yeah, that would be good. Yes, of course, that's good because then we have it in writing.
Yeah.
And they may be more willing to do that right quick.
Yeah, and
Yes,
James will
thank you.
probably copy you on those just so it looks more official than coming from my Gmails.
Right.
Yep.
Perfectly
I was
fine.
gonna say, if you
Right.
get answers, which is, we can't give that back to you because we don't know for sure who you are, then maybe Jessica, we might end up coming back to you and saying, hey, it needs to come from
Well,
or
there's an email address for
elections.
the
Yeah.
elections, the Board of Elections. Can we use that?
Yeah.
I don't know how we get in there to write from it, but we can certainly direct people to it.
You can direct people back to it. If you're going to send
Okay.
emails, Terry, do you want to just send me the text and the people you want to send it to, and I'll send it out on behalf of the board from the town election email address. So if you could just
Perfect.
pull the
Great.
information together, we can get it out there.
Great, great,
Yeah.
great. Okay. We'll find it. We'll find it. We'll find it.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Let's see here. I'm not as good as my colleagues with sharing these sharing this screen.
Fine. It's nice to have a moment of quiet and a recognition that we are now switching topics.
Okay, so we talked about the recruitment and then the ballots from Electech. So
Yes.
these are we've had these for a little bit now. Has everyone had a chance to review them to see if there's
Yes.
any errors or anything odd?
Yep.
One thing jumped out to me, every sample ballot, except for Ward 1, has bolding of all of the English language text in the top box.
Tell me. Bolding of and the Spanish is in italics. Is that what you're thinking?
Yeah, it's in italics. At least it looks.
Oh, I see. Like the town of Riverdale Park piece was bold on every word. Oh, Terry, good catch. This one here is
Yeah.
bold. It's not bold on word 1.
Yeah, and it's the same for like the Ward 2, Ward 1 isn't bolded, May 5th, 2025, in like the way that in English isn't bolded, yeah, and official ballots. But every other ward has consistency of bolding and italicization.
Ooh, that's a fun one.
Nice.
Oh, that was good. I'm glad you used that word, and I was butchering it every time I tried to say it. Okay, yeah, I think that I can call that to their attention. How's the spelling of all the names? Terry,
I
did you-
checked them. I checked.
I'm having a hard time with the Warsnop last name. Like I keep saying it, and spelling it wrong. I will certainly be better about that in the future, but I just want to make sure I'm not missing a letter in there.
No, that was
Last name is spelled right.
Okay.
all of that is good. For the things that we print to either hand out or something like that, if they can move the sample thing down to the bottom. I know that they're trying to obscure so that none of these sample ballots get used. But if they can move that watermark so that people can see, particularly because we're talking about write-ins, we want people to be able to see that. Is that okay? What do you guys think? What do you think?
I think it needs to be in the middle, but could we make it slightly more transparent?
Yeah.
Okay.
I
More like
haven't
a-
Okay,
asked
so
them.
knock that back to like a 40% or
Okay.
something.
Yep, for the one that we can, so we can do the one that we're gonna put on the website and distribute.
Yeah,
So,
so that people can really see that writing in is a possibility because of the way, or maybe turn it the other, no, that wouldn't make any difference. No,
Unless-
okay,
yeah,
sorry.
because it needs to go, it needs to break up both of those boxes so that we can tell.
Right.
Yeah, so it's.
Right.
Yeah.
I get it.
So I'll go back and ask those questions and make sure that they bold the headings properly. I'd like to send them back out to the council or to the board to take another look at after that's done. Is that okay with you? We have
Okay.
enough time now.
Yep.
Right.
We're not running around like chickens with our heads cut off.
Right. Well, I'll turn that one around right away. I guarantee.
Okay.
And I didn't see anything to fix on the envelopes.
I was trying to remember how we had, and we have the ballot that goes in an envelope. And in that envelope, are we having people write their names on that envelope? Or are we putting a ballot in a plain envelope so that the ballot is not attached to the name? Because I remember thinking that when we did it before, that the ballot was in an envelope that was attached to someone's name.
There it is.
And then there goes the anonymity of the vote. So I've forgotten
No.
how many envelopes.
No, no, it's okay.
Okay.
It's okay. Jessica, you want to start on the outside. What do you get in the mail?
So this is
That,
the
right?
outside,
Yep.
you know,
Okay.
version, and the town seal has to be changed. So I'll send that to.
That's right.
Yes. It's
to
so
the
pretty.
back.
Good eye.
And then
Yeah.
this is the envelope for the ballot. So this is where the
Okay.
ballot goes, period.
And there's nothing on the back side of that ballot envelope. That back.
Now this,
And so
go ahead.
the ballot comes in the big envelope, and so does this separate ballot envelope, right? The ballot, do we put the ballots are not stuffed into that envelope. They come in as a separate piece, right?
Yeah. Mhm.
Okay. And so then after that is you voted, right? You voted, you put it in the ballot, just like it says, fold and insert marked ballot, complete affidavit on the opposite side, seal and place in return envelope. So the opposite side of that ballot envelope
Mhm.
is the affidavit.
Which is the signature.
Right, and that is like the voter authorization card.
But then now if we open that, we have somebody's signature attached to somebody's vote.
No, but the ballots is not like they should be stored separately immediately.
When we get them
Right.
in mail, what I'm saying is the ballot is in an envelope with a signature on it.
Yeah,
Yes,
so this is
that's
the
how-
envelope that, I'm sorry. Go
Okay.
ahead, Terry.
Yeah, that's how every election is.
Okay.
If you vote absentee
Right.
for
Yeah.
the
Right.
county, you have to put it in with your signature and
Same
Okay.
thing,
That's
same
fine.
thing,
yeah.
same thing.
So this is what the board will see here.
Yep.
This is
Yep.
what'll come back to the board.
Yep.
And that's that. Did we want to, we are providing a stamp on these. So if people decide to mail them,
Right,
just kind of they'll be stamped. And then this is what is filled out. This is their signature, their name, address, all
I
of
thought
that.
I thought this was the equivalent of their voter card.
It is.
yes, sorry, I was wrong, sorry, yes.
And that's what you compare if there's ever an issue to the applications. So that's why you get
Yeah.
an original signature on the application. So if there's ever a question, you can put them side by side. The ballots are completely separate, just like Terry said, like they're in a separate pile in the envelope.
And the envelope and the signature on the envelope is just like when you go to vote, you sign in when you're checking in. I got it.
I did have a question about the envelope. If that's okay.
Yep.
So Jessica, if you could go back to that page. Not
Tell
that
me
one.
when
The
I get to the one.
number one sample.
Okay.
That one.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yes, right. So on the bottom left where it has town election May 5th, I'm wondering whether we can either put something here or somewhere else that makes sense to let folks know when their ballot needs to be received by, so that it's clear. Like if you're mailing it, you can't mail it on the 5th. It has to be received by I'm just concerned about folks misunderstanding, like, oh great, the election's on the 5th. As long as I mail it by the 5th, then that's
Right.
fine.
Yep.
Not true.
Did we have other instructions that went in the envelopes?
Oh, we did, didn't we?
Yeah, I thought we did.
I thought this came up last year, and either there was like an FAQ or there was some kind of instruction. I just didn't see that here. And
Yes,
so
we had a step-by-step thing.
right here, do this, do this. Kate did a great job of, and then she gave it to me and I tried to follow it and we made sure that you could follow it and
Kate,
it
I
would
think
work.
you pulled those when we first started talking about it because you said I have the instructions right here. Let me
I
hang on one second. Let me go back and see what I can find. (2023) ballot.
and I'm not on my good binder is at home.
Okay.
Okay, we don't have to do it right now. It's okay.
I
Oh, we
found
need to do it soon.
Yes.
I think I found it. So let me share
Okay.
this real quick and hopefully it's what we approved. We can also, I can send this around. We can look at it closely. But this was what we did in April 2023. And it's
Yes.
step by step. Heather, is this what you remember from the last time around?
Yeah, I didn't remember it being that long, but yeah, I think that's right.
So how about I update the dates and drop it in the Electech folder that you guys have access to and just take a look
Okay.
at it and it'll be a Word version so you can change anything you want to it. I might
Great.
think
Yeah.
about putting the town seal on it just because I love the town seal. But we could make that pretty after we get the words straight. Okay. So we have two things to go back to Electech with. One is the bolding on the ballots and making it consistent for every single ballot and then every single ward, excuse me. And then the sample, how they can, if they can make that a little bit lighter so that it doesn't cover up the write-ins. And then the third thing is just a closer review of the envelopes and the instructions. And that should be pretty good to go. So there's nothing I will send a request to update the seal. And then while you're looking at the other things, hopefully we'll have a final proof. I think Heather has a really good point about the information on when it's due being on the outside of the envelope too.
Yes. I
Does
agree.
anybody? Okay. All right. So I made a
agree.
note of that and I'll ask if they could do that. And it must be
That would be great.
received by close of the
By 8 p.m. By 8 p.m. on May 5th, right?
I'm sorry, I was very excited by
Yeah, sorry, I didn't mean to
message.
distract. Yeah, we should say 8 p.m. because not everybody's going to know
Right.
when.
Right.
So.
Yeah. Okay. All right, perfect. So we have that done-ish for now.
Oh, Heather, word healer, nice going.
I am so
Good
excited.
for you.
This is great news.
Heather's powerful and persuasive.
She is, she's the
Okay.
man behind the curtain without a curtain.
Okay, so let me go back to the agenda here real quick. I'm so glad that my colleagues don't see me doing this. I'm having such a hard time. Okay. The final item under the updates is really an ask of the board, and that is how you would like to handle the review of the mail-in ballot applications. So there's about 10 right now that have come in, and they go onto an Excel spreadsheet, and the Excel spreadsheet is what Electech uses to mail the ballots. And so the wards have to be reviewed. We have to make sure they're registered voters. And I typically handle that part of it, but I'm happy to give it up if anybody else wants to do that piece. But we do need the board to make sure that everything is accurate on the spreadsheet and nothing was like transposed when it goes from what the voter sent to us to the spreadsheet. I think we've done it in the past where we've sent batches, I think to Kate and Sarah. what we could do is I've created a folder of all the absentee mail-in ballot applications that have come in alphabetically, and we could keep the Excel spreadsheet by just as they come in, and maybe the board can, each time we meet, like review all of that ahead of time. So we'll say up to 1 through 10 have already been reviewed. And then the board reviews whatever else comes in before the next meeting. And then I think that'll keep it pretty.
Yeah.
And on the spreadsheet, there should be some way we can mark that we reviewed it. So
Yeah.
that we, yeah.
I can add a field for that.
Yeah.
And if you
What's the
want-
date? What's the date that Electech needs that information to get them in the mail? Do you know?
I think we can decide, I can ask them that question. We can determine when we want to mail those out. Before the deadline is April the 25th. Hang on 1 second. We have Heather, there she is. April the 25th is the deadline, but we obviously don't want to wait till the 25th. We want to mail them out as quickly as possible. So once we approve the ballots, I think that would be shortly thereafter, we can start mailing out.
Start sending them right
Yeah.
away.
Yeah.
Great. Super. Okay.
And we do those also
Okay.
in batches. Typically they send 2 or 3 batches, maybe even more, of the absentee or the mail-in ballots out. And then the last ones that we get always right on the deadline, the Board of Elections will deliver. I think we've had maybe 2 in the past that Kate and Sarah have had to kind of hand deliver.
Um,
And make sure everyone can vote.
I know that I think that we keep kind of going back and forth between absentee and mail-in ballot. I prefer mail-in, but I don't know. Do we need to have everything that is on the materials going out say absentee, because that's what it says.
That's what it says in the
Instead of
town
mail-in.
code. I think the state law
That's what I
has
figured.
changed
Yeah.
to call it all mail-in. And so anytime we see absentee, I try to put mail-in in parentheses next to it, and then that would be a
Yeah.
big change to make in the next
Yes.
code update.
Yeah.
In the next go round with the code and the charter and stuff. Okay, that's what I figured. I just wanted to clarify. Okay, are we done with all of the bullet points for number 2? Okay. Okay, so voter outreach.
So hang on, let me open the
I saw Heather's QR code and stuff. She started putting some graphics together.
And we have some, so the state of the town was last night, so staff were able to like work on that a little bit more today. So I do have some other things to share with you as well. I don't know why this is having a hard time here. Just 1 second here. Why can't I see? Okay. We do have the Google Doc that Heather created and she sent around previously. I can send the link again. I have started adding some of the contact information into the individual spots that wherever we have it. But we need to, I guess, determine what the outreach will be. The only thing that has been scheduled is a visit to the farmers market on May the 1st. And that is because I can commit to covering that because I'll be there for another town purpose. So I knew for sure we could get promotions out. If there are any other times when the board would like to come together to do voter outreach at town events, let me know. There's a spring fling coming up at Riversdale House Museum on April the 5th from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. We have tomorrow night is well, we don't usually mix those 2 up. Earth Day cleanup is on April the 26th. So I think we have train stop tunes on Fridays in town center. And I think that's everything we have planned as far as town events go up until the election.
Does it, I, I, I'm certainly willing to take time and to do some of those, so maybe we should come up with like a list that has the dates and the times, and we can kind of distribute and people can sign up if they can do stuff. What I'm more concerned, for me, when I'm doing that, I like stuff that I can hand out to give, to start a conversation, and I want to make sure we have materials to go when we do the outreach.
That's a good transition, Sarah.
Okay. I had it all planned.
I love it. Okay. So Heather put together this awesome flyer. It's got great color. And I think we can actually use all of these. Like, I don't think you have to choose any one of them. So that is one of the flyers. This is a flyer that staff put together today. And it has the same information as what's Heather put together. This is just another version, just bright, you know, getting people's attention. But the QR code is the main focus for people to scan if they have any questions. So right now, early voting, election day. The only other thing that we could add to it is the mail-in ballot deadline, if you'd like to see that. Those are the
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry. Okay. So we have 3 options on flyers. I think you could do all of them, and that would make sense.
Okay.
You'll just have to
And they all say where, right? They say where. And
Yep.
Spanish is correct. Heather's right. They
Yeah.
all need to be in Spanish.
Yeah. So they will be translated. Oh, sorry, Heather. Yep.
Yeah.
I don't think the other options
Yeah,
say town hall.
I'm more than happy to use the ones that town staff designed. I only designed one because I said that I would, so I have no attachment to it whatsoever. I was planning on whatever design we use, I think we should probably flip it to horizontal and just put Spanish on one, or English on one
Yeah.
side, Spanish on the other side, so that
Yeah.
it's, just put it all in one instead of like
Yeah.
choosing
Yeah.
between English and Spanish.
So let me show you the yard
But
sign.
those are great.
Sorry, Heather, I didn't mean to overtalk you.
No, I was just saying those are great.
Yeah, they are. They're all good.
So these, the yard sign, we're gonna have to tweak the size of the font and kind of see what they look like on the yard signs. You can get several yard signs have several standard signs, and maybe we get the largest ones and we get like 100 or 150, and we put some out at different times because they get stolen and they get, I don't know what people do with them, but they disappear. So we could
You
do
put one in my
the-
yard.
Yeah.
and that was actually some of
Right.
so the council last year had a lot of discussion. They felt like the way people know that an election is happening is with yard signs. And so it seemed like that was something they felt pretty strongly about. And we have it in English and in Spanish. We still have the QR code if people want more information. We just probably need to get, well, here we do have the town hall. Probably need to have town hall up here too. And then just making the font as big as we can as bold as we can for the.
I think it makes more sense to have town election in bold rather than 2025.
Yep, we can do that.
So, yeah, because that's the most important thing, right?
And maybe 2025 comes off altogether and we just have, town election.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So when it comes to space, I think we can take, what I'm hearing is we can take the year off as long as we make sure that the font is as large as possible for town election. We include the town hall. I think we have to put the address. Not everybody knows where town hall is. And
Right.
then
Yes.
everything else as large as possible.
Right, right. And early voting should be the voting days and times should all be bold.
Yep.
because that way people can really see them.
Perfect.
But yes, I like the idea of yard signs. Boy,
Yes.
oh boy, do I like that.
Yep. Yep.
Perfect. Okay, so I think we have some tweaks we need to make to the items that of all of the items that have been seen today. So they all need a little bit of work. We haven't talked about the sticker contest a whole lot, and I don't think we are out of time quite yet. I wondered about, and I haven't talked to staff, so this might be me going way out on a limb. But I wondered if we could do an electronic contest where we promote it on like social media, via email, and just see what we get in, and then we could have like electronic
Yep.
voting on it. Instead of going into the schools right now, it's going to be a little tough.
Yeah.
That's fine. We can do something online. I do remember that we got a Patty said that the arts people they could serve as judges too.
Perfect.
Yeah. And then so
Let
we
me
can
take this
we can,
back to staff tomorrow. They're going to be so excited just having finished State of the Town. But I can see what we can do on making this electronic and still having something, because I did get all the supplies out, and the I voted stickers are kind of sad when you look at what other jurisdictions have done. So it would be nice to have. I think the community would appreciate that.
Yep, I agree.
And are we still wanting to go? Sorry, are we still wanting to go through the school to get submissions for the contest?
I think we could do outreach to the school through like the PTO maybe, and see if the families that participate in the PTO are interested, or they could get it out in some way to the school, but spread it out to the community that anybody could participate. Is that fair? I think it is kind of, I mean, it's anybody could do the sticker.
and it isn't there's not like a cash prize or you know what I mean? Like it's it isn't yeah. We got that
I
Heather
agree.
up, so we're okay.
Yeah.
Good.
The prize is everyone wearing the I voted sticker when they come out of the polling place. So
yeah.
Well, and if we
Yep.
can, let's also for that early voting day and voting day, see if we can get a poster made of the winning sticker and hang it up.
Yep.
And then give that to the winner. How about that?
Yep.
Kate, can you put that on your list to remind me to do that before we get close?
Sure.
That would be
Absolutely. Okay.
great. That I think we can work this out and still pull off the I voted sticker contests. And I think it would be kind of cool. So I'll work on that. The last item on the agenda was, besides the next meetings, is the outreach to the 16 and 17-year-old registered voters. That will happen. I'm going to prepare this week for it to go out next week. So hopefully that will happen very soon.
Excellent.
Thank you.
So there's just been so much going on that the mailing, we can now add the list of candidates and all the FAQs once we get through that and all that. So there's even more information we can send to the 16 and 17-year-old voters. And so I guess the next thing is probably something we need to talk about as far as meeting dates. We're in that like busy time where we probably need to meet more than just once a month.
Yep.
And I know
We do.
everybody has a lot going on. Can the board tell me how you would like to proceed on meetings? Frequency or cadence?
I think this is just me, but I
Yeah.
think a quick meeting once a week in April would not be a bad idea.
Yeah.
And, more if we need to, but just to check in. I know it's really hard.
We can always cancel them too. You know, if we don't need,
In the unlikely event, we have finished everything we're supposed to do,
yes,
we will cancel. Maybe
yes.
that would be a good incentive.
to
Heather,
finish-
what do you think? I don't see you, so I don't know what you're not nodding loud enough.
Sorry, I'm coming back in the house. I'm
Oh,
about to get
okay.
back on video. Give me a second to
Yep.
get back on my computer.
Okay.
It definitely does pick up with questions and small things as we get closer. So we could try to have more frequent but shorter meetings. And
See, so that would, let me look at the times here.
you
Um,
have to look at when we can do it too on as far as the Zoom and stuff like that.
So, or do we want to stick to Wednesdays at 6:30?
That'd be great.
Still work?
Yeah.
Okay. So actually that's not terrible timing. We won't meet next week, but we kind of will because, you know, we do have the update to the mayor and council.
Right.
And then it would be April 2nd, April 9th, April 16th, April 23rd, and April 30th.
Yep.
That's probably.
I think it makes sense to put those put them on the calendar, and if we don't need them, we get the time back, but we don't have to carve it out. And I anticipate that not everyone is going to be able to make all the meetings, and that's okay. We just need to do our best.
Just double check.
And then Heather's away, right? You're away the election. Are you away before then?
I was just looking at my calendar. Yeah, we leave on the 29th. So I'll miss the 30th.
Okay.
But I also, I have an every other week meeting that I just miss whenever I have a conflict with this meeting. But I'd like to not miss as many of them. Is it possible for us to do 7 instead of 6:30
I can do that.
if we do weekly meetings?
Yes, and Kate can go home before she dials into the meetings.
That'll be fun.
Hey, would that give you enough time to get home?
Oh, assuming that I leave when I'm supposed to, yes. It would, if I left when I was supposed to, I would be home now. But yeah, so no, 7 o'clock's great. It's fine. Anything is fine to me.
Yep. And like I said, hopefully the meetings are shorter, so hopefully they'll just be like 7 to 7:30.
All right.
You know.
Cool.
Yeah.
Cool.
Terry, does 7 o'clock work for you?
No, but neither does 6:30, so yes.
Sure, same.
Yep.
Okay.
Can we wait to approve the ballots and everything until April the 2nd, since it's only like a week away?
Yep.
Give us a little breathing room.
Yep.
Okay. And I'll
Okay.
work on those items. And let's see, I think that was the last thing on the agenda. Is there anything else that we need to, the mayor and council meeting on Monday night is at 7:30.
Okay.
If the board authorizes, I can put together a cover memo for your review. We could circulate it. It typically is just like a few updates to the mayor and council.
Right.
Yeah, so I can work on that, and then just putting together
That'd
the
be great.
framework, and you just let me know if that's good. And I think we've been consistent.
And you're on,
And
Kate. Yeah.
And I'll be there.
Perfect.
I will be on a plane.
And anybody else who wants to come, but I will absolutely be there.
I will be there in spirit.
Perfect. All right.
I will start to think about doing a Q&A, FAQ, whatever we want to call it, starting to put some questions together, and I'm thinking, to me, it might be useful to have it so you are a voter, so you want to be a candidate, so you whatever, and then have different questions for each of those. So you want to be on the Board of Elections. So each of those things, and then some frequently asked questions for each of those. Does that make sense to you guys?
Sure.
Yeah. Okay. And
Sure.
I'm not a good writer, so I will start the thought process and then you guys can go, oh my God, she can't spell there. I'm like, yeah, there are 3 ways to spell it. It's just a crapshoot.
I think everyone's got different talents in this.
This is not true, but okay.
Yeah, well, live in my brain for a while and you won't care about how I spell there anyway either. So
Can you spell job security?
oh, because I can add really, really well. So I'm good with numbers. So there's
Good
my job
thing.
security.
Good thing. We need both.
Yes.
All
Does
right.
anyone, what are we doing with the email back to Suraj? Are we gonna recirculate what Fred had initially said, and then if there's any changes to it, we'll make those changes. I'll recirculate that tonight and you guys can work on it and let me know.
Did we decide that it would be okay to include links to the town chart or the code and the election manual?
Yes, but
And just sort of a generic thing that says for more information about all of this, you can see these 2 documents. Is
But-
that okay, or should we be more specific?
I think we can do that, but I also think we can say, you can look here for information about your different options and about, but I personally think we need to call out exactly what
Quote.
that if you write you're welcome to run a writing campaign. Here's the codes that speak to that, because since he had a hard time understanding the directions to get the registered voters filled in, I think we need to be as explicit as possible. What are thoughts? There's too much silence. Everybody disagrees with me.
I don't know.
Go ahead, Terry.
I don't know that I would assume that he didn't understand the instructions on what he had to do to get signatures. I think he was asking for clarification, but that doesn't necessarily mean that there was a lack of.
The questions that he asked, which were, do they have to be in my area? Do they have to be registered voters? To me, those questions, after having filled it out, indicated that he didn't understand what he needed to do when he got the signatures.
So I think we should avoid making any judgment call on what his
It doesn't, it honestly,
everyone got the same exact instructions.
It doesn't, it honestly
it's not
doesn't.
incumbent on us to judge whether
it doesn't matter why we include it. I think but I do think it makes sense to say something explicitly based on what Fred Sussman said, which is, in order to win an election, you need to get the most number of people voting for you, whether that's through, as a write-in candidate or whatever, something that articulates that.
Yeah, you have to be.
I can't. I have a hard time. Yeah.
So I go back to what I'm just sharing this because I did share it earlier. I did have a current member of the council asking for kind of guidance on how to get people to vote, and that my response, I think, is the same that the board would give in any circumstances, that we can't advise people on how to campaign or how to do that. We have a vested interest, obviously, in getting all voters out, and there's voter education and things that'll be done. But that kind of conversation isn't something that can come from the staff or the board. That is something, candidates can talk about amongst themselves, or, they can seek out a professional person who is a campaign manager. I mean, there's lots of resources out there. So just that was just my approach. I think we don't want to advise anybody on what to do, but we want it to be very clear on how this process works. And I think that's really what we've been talking about all along. FAQs might be helpful.
So do we just not leave it in the letter, and then we try to put the FAQs together and get those up as soon as we can?
Well, I think that if I recall correctly, the original letter that Fred Sussman drafted said, like, you're welcome to run a write-in campaign.
Okay.
And given what so like the revisions that Heather had suggested, we're trying to add additional clarification when we thought that in order to run a successful write-in campaign, you needed X number of votes, blah, 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 blah. But now that that's no longer the case, I think we can just say you can run a write-in campaign. And oh, by the way, in order to win an election, you have to get the
Most votes, yes.
yeah. So.
Yeah, I like I said, it's been a rough week for me, so I don't honestly recall what's in it. And as long as it says, please.
Yeah, I think, Jessica, when you circulate it, we can make sure that my recollection is correct, because it might not be, but I think he did say something about you can run a write-in campaign.
I'm trying to solve problems that don't exist. So that definitely means we need to adjourn the meeting soon.
It is getting late, and we'll circulate it. Everyone can, talk about it again in light of the discussion tonight. Okay.
Good.
Okay.
Right, very good.
Sorry,
Everybody.
last thing.
Oh, sorry, Heather.
Last thing on the tracker, on the outreach tracker spreadsheet, I just added an event outreach tab. So Jessica, it'd be great to like add in anything about town events, and we can go in there and
Got it.
assign ourselves as we're available.
I made some updates tonight with contact information, and I will try to be better about that in the next week or so, add some more to the tracking document.
Okay,
Awesome.
great. Thank you very much.
Thanks, everybody, and have
Thank you.
a wonderful evening. We'll be get back together on April the 2nd.
Okay.
Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Excellent. Thank you.